Hey everyone, it's Katie from Without a Crystal Ball. It is Wednesday, which means it's time for our Teen Mom OG recap. And last night did not disappoint in terms of the oh my gosh factor. And I can't believe I'm watching this mixed with a little oh, a baby. That's right, you guys. Last night we met Stella, Mackenzie and Ryan Edwards' newest addition and baby girl. But before we get there, let's talk about Ambi. Okay, so last night's episode was, if you remember last week, we met Dimitri, this random guy she met on Instagram, the one that she's been, talking to for such a long time because it's not like she hasn't been broken up from Andrew for very long, right? Like, in fact, it was July of 2019 when their relationship came to an end. Yeah, and it's only in May of 2019, not even a year, and they had a kid. Okay, anyways, so she's like inviting this guy over for 3 months. He's from Belgium. He speaks French. He has 2 children. Yeah, and she says, well, I was really liked him because, all the other guys on Instagram were sending me D pics and he didn't do that. Yeah, those were the redeeming qualities. Anyways, she's like, things with Dimitri are going great. However, in the press, it's leaking that I am dating someone. Can we talk about how bad these voiceovers are this season? And then she says that she sits down with Gary. Is Gary her only friend, you guys? Is Gary her only friend? Yeah, Gary. Gary, why are you always there? Is this the only one that's willing to film with Amber? I'm starting to think nobody in Amber's life is willing to film with her except for Gary. And I'm starting to feel like the only reason she has a boyfriend is because she has no one to film with. Anyways, it's her storyline. Okay, she invites Gary over and she's like, well, suddenly the press finds out that I'm dating Dimitri, and I'm all like, did he leak it to the press? I mean, like, and then on his phone, people are like popping up out of nowhere, and I'm all like, is that your cousin? And like, who is that? And he's like, that's my cousin. And I'm all, that might be a girl. And she's like, I don't know who he is. Yeah, that's right, because you invited a complete and utter stranger to your house to stay for 3 months. Anyways, she's like, there are guys that are out there that will do a lot of things. And like Matt, like he thought he was going to be famous after we broke up. What's weird about this show is like people are literally talking about how famous they are. Seriously. She's talking about how famous she is and how Matt thought he was going to be famous after she broke up with him. And that's funny. Like, she's the key to fame. Anyways, that part just rubs me wrong. Anyways, she says that she's going to have him take a lie detector test. And she's like, well, Matt took a lie detector test. And then that pans to, her finding out that Matt made those passes at those different girls. And she's all like, you're trash, and Ambi ears and smoke coming out of her ears. I mean, that was, Matt's kind of a turd bucket. So, she's like, I just want to know if, he's loyal, if he's here for me. And Gary's like, yep, you want to know. Is he loyal? Is he here for you? Does he want you for fame? Does he want you for a green card? But then he's like, before you go off on him, go talk to someone. Get me, get Christina, get your mom, get someone to talk to you before you lose your mind. Okay, so I have a lot of thoughts with that. But basically, Amber, you aren't making good decisions. Lie detector tests are already proven not to be reliable. They are inadmissible in court because they can be so easily misread. And this guy was doing it based on a voice. And so he was like, he could tell by voice inflection whether or not someone was lying. There's such lack of scientific evidence that these types of these are even real. So as much as you love to take these, this is just storyline. Anyways, then we go to Macy and Taylor, and they are actually talking about how, Mackenzie is about to have a baby, and they're like, under 2 years old, it's going to be so busy for them. And it's just I can't even believe it. And they're in their playroom trying to pick up the kids, which, by the way, I noticed the kids are not around very much. And it's, her due date. So Bentley gets to stay over with Larry and Jen until Mackenzie actually delivers. Bentley is over in the living room with Larry and Jen, and he's playing with Jagger. And then they're talking about how Mackenzie's labor was super fast. And Bentley actually was able to be one of the first to hold Stella and see her. And they start talking about how, like, they're just really glad that, like, these kids will all have each other once they get older. Like, Stella and Jagger are, like, less, like, a year apart, maybe. And then they joke, they're like, I think this one might break them because it's like they have 2 kids and it's under 2 years old. Bentley said he thinks Stella looks just like Ryan. Larry says he looks like his mom because she has no teeth. And that's what she looks like when she takes her teeth out. It's all just kind of cute with Bentley, like, playing with Jagger on the floor. Larry and Jen just so excited to have a little girl. And Macy and Taylor just being like, another kid. Oh, my God. So then we go to Cheyenne. Okay. So Cheyenne is with Ryder outside. She's going to call Corey because Corey's off at the challenge, if you remember. And with him at work, she wants Ryder to, you know, like, talk to him. And Ryder's being super cute. And she's like, hi, Daddy. Daddy. And, you know, like, she's 3, so she has, like, really limited vocabulary. And she says things wrong, but it's so adorable. And Cheyenne's like, this is Ryder, man. And then later that night, Ryder ends up getting sick and she can't hold down any food and they rush her to the hospital. Sad. Cheyenne explains that due to the diagnosis that she was given, she was received shortly after birth, when she can't hold food down, she can go into what's called metabolic crisis because she goes into hypoglycemia. And so they have to give her fluids and make sure she's okay. And to which I say, Cheyenne, I see you. I have a kiddo just like that. And I was, like, totally feeling that scene. Poor Ryder girl. And Cheyenne looked exhausted. Okay. Then on to Catelynn and Tyler. So they're still, Catelyn's all, I'm still trying to figure out what I want to do for my career. But Tyler started a clothing line a few years ago, but then he shut it down when we were separated because it was too much work. Is this why they have financial problems? They start projects and then they can't finish them and then it just gets too hard, so they just close them. They have tax liens for over $800,000. Anyways, so he's talking about how he wants to relaunch his clothing line for children, but he needs a team to help him. And he says that every person that he hires, he has to pay, and it's going to be so excited. And then Catelyn's, well, I can help with customer service. I mean, that's not that hard. I'm good at that. And he's like, no, I need someone that can be there all the time. And she's like, what? It's customer service. Like, you can answer emails a couple times a day. It's not that big of a deal. And he's like, nope, it has to be your only job. And you've got just all this stuff going on here, Kate. I mean, you've got your mom. You're like a mom. Like, I feel like anytime Catelynn wants to do something, Tyler's like, no, you're not good enough, you know? And then Catelyn's like, you're right. I need to get a job outside of the house, Tyler. You're so nice to me all the time. And then they're joking, and then he's like, but I love you. Okay. Anyways, then we go on to Mackenzie. She is going to be going down to Florida. She's going to take Jaxie for her birthday. It's going to be her 6th birthday, and they are going to go have some fun together after she lost her mother, Angie, and she's dealing with her grief. So as she's struggling to deal with that, she said that she's been relying more and more on her friends because Josh just doesn't know how to handle things. So then it cuts to, like, she's basically tells Jaxie, hey, we're going to go down to the Florida, we're going to go look at some dolphins, we're going to go celebrate your birthday with Daddy, it's going to be so much fun. Then it's back to the gym where she's, like, practicing cheer, and she sits down with her friend and she's, like, telling her about how she has all this resentment towards Josh, and resentment about her mom's death because they were all around her and then they watched Angie take her last breath, and she said then everyone just sort of packed up and then walked away, and then she sat alone in the room with her mom, and she just was like, what just happened? How could you just leave? And she starts crying about how her mother is her glue, and she's still struggling with life without her. And she also goes on to say that, you know, it's been really hard because, you know, she's having all these issues with Josh. And her friend basically says, you know, I think you're taking things out on Josh because your mom and you were so close and you're hurting and you don't have anyone else to be mad at. And so it ends up being you're lashing out at Josh. And Mackenzie sort of agrees, sort of doesn't agree, doesn't really have much to say about it. Kind of understood. Okay. Then back to Mackenzie and Ryan. So they come home and Stella is at home and they start talking about her labor. So apparently it was around 3 a.m. She was in the hospital and they woke her up. They gave her the epidural. It's like 6 a.m. and she's completely dilated. And it's so cute because Mackenzie's like, do you want to tell Stella her birth story? And he's like, Mama was up at 3 a.m. and then she got the epidural and Mama was a happy epidural mama. And then Ryan was like sort of doting on her, and Ryan said that this was really great for him because he was so happy to be there for Stella's birth. He said he felt really excited to have a little girl, and both of them looked absolutely exhausted but also very thrilled, and Stella was absolutely adorable. Okay. Back to Amber. So she's like, oh, I need to figure out what Dimitri's intentions are. So you know that I have this like horrible trust issues and I've been hit hard with my exes like whoosh. Yeah, it's never your fault, Amber. Never your fault. And so she's like, I would like you to do a lie detector test to show me that I'm not wasting my time with you. I just want to know that you're here for me. I want honesty. I want trust with whoever I'm with. And it's going to be really hurtful if you aren't being truthful and aren't here in the future. Like, holy pressure to put on someone you just talked. And by the way, trust isn't something that you automatically give. Trust is earned over time. Trust is not something that you just automatically like walk into with Rachel. Like, I trust you completely. Like, you barely know this guy. Why aren't you even just like taking the time to like avoid the red flags and see your red flags? Oh, then he wouldn't be there. That's right. Okay. And again, you're on probation. Why do you have this guy here? And why are you giving a crap about a lie detector test? This is like consummate. Amber's always the victim. Always the victim. It's always the guys that are doing these things to her. It's never her fault. And Dimitri's just like, yes, I understand. I will do for you. You know, he's just like being like, if I don't do this, I might get my face punched. You know what I mean? And she ends up bringing him there. And, you know, she's like, the guy's like, well, why do you want to do it? She's like, well, people have taken money from me and I've gone to jail. No, she didn't actually say that. And then she's like, they've cheated on me and I'm just here to make sure he's for the right reasons. And he's like, oh yeah, because you don't want to make sure that he's here for the green card. Seriously, way to dehumanize this person. Like, Amber, you're not that great of a catch. By the way, you're a freaking felon. Like, a felon. A 3-time felon, Amber. With probation. Anyways, and the guy's like, well, this wouldn't be my first rodeo. I've had to talk to a lot of people to see if they're coming here for a green card. Yeah, because lie detector tests are so accurate. Okay, back to Cheyenne. They're actually in the hospital with Ryder. She actually had to get admitted. And they put her up in an isolation room because they wanted to protect her and her immunity because of her metabolic issues. So at the hospital, she has to be like by herself, and she ends up calling her sister and her mom and lets her know that she's been eating all day, but they can't have any visitors. And so they they start saying hi and cute and feel better and that kind of stuff. Okay, now back in Florida, Mackenzie is with Josh and Jaxie, and they arrive in Florida and they like have cupcakes for Jaxie and they wish her a happy birthday and have her blow them out. And they talk to Jaxie about how, 6 years ago today I had you, and Daddy really wanted a little girl, and Jaxie's like, and you wanted little boys. And she's like, well, and Daddy really wanted your little girl. And they just sort of reminisce about what a sweet little girl she is and how much Daddy loves her and how much Mommy loves her. And they say, you're our best child, but just don't tell your brothers. And then they take Jaxie to an aquarium the next day. She goes and sees dolphins, and they're sitting they're in the car afterwards having some ice cream. And, they say, like, Mackenzie said, it was really nice to do something as a family. We never do this kind of stuff. I'm so glad we got to do this. And then she's like, did you have a good birthday? And Jaxie's like, I had a great birthday, and Nanny got to see all of my birthday. And then Mackenzie's like, yep, because she was watching from heaven. Can I just say that Jaxie is a super cute girl? And like, I don't care what you think about Mackenzie and Josh. They make some damn cute kids. And this season, I find her story the best. I don't care what else you say. Okay, back to Kate and Tyler. Tyler is meeting up with the team to talk about his clothing line. And he's all like, the website looks great. I'm so glad you were able to do this. You did more than I could have done in months. You know, and he's like, I'm so glad you guys are going to help me out. I'm like, help you out for a price, Tyler. And so they agree about which designs they're going to do. They're going to do one outfit for a girl and one outfit for a boy. And a few days later, they're like out back home, and Tyler and her are in the car, and Tyler is literally freaking out about the price. And he's like, why did one of my items triple price by 3 times? I can't charge crazy prices for kids' clothes. You know, I don't want to have, and everyone's going to be like, well, why don't you just go to Tyler, go to China, like make your clothes in China. Well, I don't want to go to China because I don't want to have my kids working I don't want to be like little bloody fingers in sweatshops, and I want to keep it local. I mean, it's endearing, right? It's very awesome that he's doing these things, but it's like, he says that he can't do it the way it's being done right now because they've jacked up the prices 3 times, and Catelynn's just sort of agreeing with him, and that's the end of that scene. Then over to Gary and Christina. Gary's explaining to Christina that Amber wants to have Dimitri take a lie detector test. And if she did take the test and if it came back negative, like she's on probation and he worries that she'll freak out, and I don't want her to screw this up. You know what happened when Matt failed his. So they get back into the room and Dimitri's done. And the lie detector guy says he isn't interested in her money. He doesn't have any other girlfriends, and he's not here for any other reason than her. And then he says, you're a trooper for going through this. And then Amber's like, I just trust you more. I'm just scared to be in a relationship. I'm still struggling to give you my full self. Well, Amber, it's probably because you've only been single, like literally, I don't know when this was filmed, maybe December. What is that, 5-6 months? Because I think he got here in October or November. You know what I mean? Like, it's because you just got out of a relationship. You're not ready. You're on probation. And anyways, what is this guy doing here? The biggest red flag for me with Dimitri is that he's getting involved with a woman that's on probation. Come on. Okay, I'm not saying anything, but this is like literally recent case. Like, this is repeated patterns. Like, it's like, Dimitri, enjoy your time now. You're just going to be the next one. The next one that she says, he stole my money. He just wanted me for fame. It was all about that, you know, because every single guy steals her money, wants her money, blah, 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 blah. And then she's like, I just never thought I could be loved. I just love you. And it's hard for me to accept that you do love me. And why would you even love me? Why didn't that person just love me? Like sitting on her couch crying. I've never been this way. It's always been this way with every man. Right when they F up and then I look like the psycho. How can it always be my fault? You know, and he's like, I'm so worried about men trying to take my money and my fame. It's just so intense. How many times is she going to talk about how famous she is on this show? Seriously. None of the other girls do this. It's just bizarre. Okay? So back to Macy. They are outside. Bentley gets home from school. They ask him about Stella. He says that she's pretty cute. She was 7 pounds, 14 ounces. They ask him if it gets normal, like if he likes his siblings. He said he loves them. And they're like, there's been so many. I'm just like, I'm so happy for you, buddy. You're going to be a great role model for all these little kids. And then the little 2 kids are running all over the place. And Macy's like, borders, stay in the yard. You know, it was like that. Okay. Then over to Larry and Jen's, and this is the first, they're sitting having like a meal together, and Jen is like, this is going to be my princess. Like, you know, Jen has been waiting for this little girl forever. She's going to be my princess. And then Ryan is like talking about how, whatever, we're going to get her a Camaro. And then Larry's like, whose Camaro? And Ryan's like, yours. And then Stella is like sleeping the whole time while Mackenzie's holding her. And then, they're like, so is it super hard, like, to have 2 kids? And Ryan's like, not really. Stella sleeps all the time. And then, like, Mackenzie's like, what? No, she doesn't. Not really. And poor Mackenzie, oh, girl, she's just sitting there like this. She's like, she looks so tired. She's got, like, that new mom, I haven't slept in 14 days kind of face. That's what she looks like. But, then Jagger starts having a fit, and, they start talking about, how it's going to be when they both start, like, if Jagger gets jealous and if one needs more attention, because technically Jagger's basically still a baby at this point. He's, I don't even know, just turned 1 at this. He's just like 1 year and a couple months, still a baby. So that's where they're at with that. Then back to Cheyenne. She actually gets discharged, and they say once the fever broke, we were able to go home. But then her sister's there, and they sort of talk about how they're going to keep her safe, and that she's so glad that they're out of the hospital. But then they wake up later that night. She has a fever again. She still can't keep food down. She says Ryder had been doing good, but then she couldn't hold anything down. She said Corey is still competing. She hasn't contacted Corey because she doesn't want it to get into Corey's head, which I thought was interesting. The last time that he wasn't there for her, she was really mad at him, but now she doesn't want to interrupt his competition, so she's not telling him. It's sort of ironic how things change when circumstances change. I could totally understand her stress in this moment, because it's like, do I contact him? But she said the doctors said that they weren't in an emergency position, and so she didn't want to put Corey's state of mind in a bad place, and she wanted him to be able to still compete for that $100 million prize. But she says that it's not easy because she would really love the support and help. And she just says she feels like she's breaking. And I can say, as a mama that has spent many nights in a hospital alone just with my child, it's hard. So my heart goes out to Cheyenne right there. And then Catelynn. So back to their house, Tyler's like calling the supplier, and he's like, why did my cost triple? And the supplier basically explains, well, it's the quantity. So he only wanted 20 pieces per style. And he said and when you do larger volumes, the margins will come down. So they were telling him, like, you need to do like around 200 of each style to see how we can bring down the margins. And then hesitantly, he basically says that he will do that. But he's like, well, when you have the right deal in place, clothing is so brutal. And that means that if everyone agrees, if everyone's upset, it means it's the right deal. And, they start talking about how hard the clothing industry it is. It is. Everyone has clothing lines, and a lot of them fold. But Kate's like, you're doing it, Ty. And he's like, barely. And she's like, but I love ya. That's like what she does every time. I love ya. And he's like, well, I don't know why, but I love you too. Like, that's really all they say to each other this week. Okay, and then back to Florida. Mackenzie is doing her class in Florida. She's doing her Body by Mac class. She says she was happy with the turnout. They're sitting at the beach, and she said that she liked that the class started out small, that this was the first birthday for one of their kids without Angie, and that Angie usually puts together all the parties for the kids, and then they sort of pan to, all the different things that Angie had done for, like, the kids over the years for Jaxie and for Gannon. And then they sort of reflect that they think the trip has been good, and she says that she feels like sometimes she's reaching out to him for help with the healing, and she feels like he's, not always there. But she said, it's me that's the problem, and then it turns into the we problem. And she's like, I just hope you understand, like, that we'll get through this. And he was like, yep, we'll take it day by day, enjoy life, enjoy each other and the kids. All right. So that's it for this episode. Next week, we'll probably see more of the same with who knows what's going to happen. I'm sure Dimitri and Amber will get into something, and Caitlin and Tyler will get into something, and then Cheyenne and Macy and everyone else will do something, because that's what happens on Teen Mom OG. So tell me, Matt, what were your thoughts? Was it right to have him take a lie detector test? Or Amber, you're on probation. Will Tyler's clothing line be successful? Do you feel sad for Cheyenne and Ryder? What about Mackenzie and her business and the cool trip to Florida? And what about Macy and Ryan and Mackenzie and the new baby Stella? All right, you guys, I'll be back later with more. Bye.